Good morning. My name is Pastor Teresa Soto, and I'm here with our worship producer, Vincent Rains, our featured speaker, who's our Interim Director of Religious Education, Alex Haider-Winnett. We have Corliss Smith and Stephen Schneider with us today, all creating this experience for you. We welcome you to worship with the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. Please turn off your camera while we begin our service and light our chalice and candles. This will allow us to begin with a quiet space. We will turn our cameras on to greet each other later in the service. Please note that we're recording the service, so if you don't want to be in the recording, please keep your camera off. For best viewing experience, we also recommend that you make certain you have an up-to-date version of Zoom on your computer. The Zoom app especially.
We are an intentionally multi-generational, multiracial, multicultural, inclusive, and anti-oppressive religious community, and you are welcome here. My name is Mary Lane, and I am a member of your Board of Trustees. We invite you to fill out the guest connection card you will see in the chat. We want to be able to support your exploration of what's available in our community that interests you and how you might participate. Welcome. Now, before we begin our worship, we have a few reminders. Today at noon, everyone is invited to join the Circle of Oak for an hour of online tea, good company, and learning about topics relevant to witchcraft and other earth-centering spiritual paths. All are welcome. Email circleofoak@uuoakland.org for the Zoom link. Give me a moment. To be an intentionally multi-generational community, we must know how to welcome and work with people of all ages. In the workshop, Ministering with Young Adults, Alex, our Interim Director of Religious Education, will share some insights into what young people are and are not looking for in a church community. Join the discussion this Tuesday, May 13th at 7:30 p.m. And on Saturday, May 15th, starting at 5:30 p.m., there is a BIPOC worship service and art club coffee hour for those with the lived experience of being Black, Indigenous, a person of color, or a person of mixed race. You are invited to attend. For some reason, I'm not getting the bottom line here. You are invited to attend BIPOC worship service along with spouses, children, and chosen family of any race. Please visit the online calendar for details about all of these happenings. For Zoom links to join church events, email yesplease at uuoakland.org. Yes, please at uuoakland.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. We'll begin today with lighting our chalice. If you would keep your camera off and read the words on your screen at this time. Your microphone off. You can turn your camera on. We light this chalice today, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, in part as celebration of COVID-19 vaccines that bring us closer together to being in person, and we commit to health and safety for everyone, leaving no one behind. And our Black Lives Matter candle. We light this candle in recognition of the Black Lives Matter movement and in recognition of the systemic racism that tries to deny the full humanity of Black people, and commit to dismantling it with daily action. We also have a peace candle, and I begin with a quote from Hafsat Abiola, a Nigerian human rights and democracy activist. She says, "Peace comes from being able to contribute the best that we have and all that we are toward creating a world that supports everyone. But it is also securing the space for others to contribute the best that they have and all that they are." We light this candle in the spirit of creating a world that supports everyone. We light this candle in honor and memory of Michaela Miller, a Black teen, 16 years old, who was lynched, murdered, and hung from a tree on April 18th in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston. Michaela's mother received threats that if the murder was investigated, Michaela's sexuality would be revealed. As we pray and work for peace, let us hold Michaela Miller and her family in our
I have a reading for you from Jack Kornfield from his book, A Path with a Heart. To learn intimacy is not an easy thing. Growing up in a divided culture, marked by our wounds and longings, it is hard to be present, hard to be respectful. Like following the breath or walking in meditation step by step, it is learned again and again as we relinquish the fears and conditions that keep us from one another. These barriers and fears, the memories of our past sufferings, arise when we come close to one another, when we come close to the mystery of the moment. Many times we will feel our hesitation and tentativeness, a holding back. Yet this too can be touched with our intimate attention. And then, in a moment, we can let go of ourselves, be open and be here, awake and wholly present. Over and over, when the world offers itself to us for our awakening, all we have to do is meet it. As Rumi says, today is like every other day. We wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down the dulcimer. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Whenever we stop to kiss the earth, we recognize how unique is each man and woman in each day before us. Never again will we see it in this way. In intimacy, we discover a beauty and grace that makes all things worthwhile. Because life is so tentative, it becomes precious. Again, Rumi reminds us not to sit with sorrow alone. When you go to a garden, do you look at thorns or flowers? Spend more time with roses and jasmine. As the capacity for presence grows in us, we discover an ease of the heart with all things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Corliss. Now is the time in our service when we're able to unmute our microphones and greet each other. So welcome and good morning.
Good morning,
Everybody.
Good morning, one and all.
Good morning,
everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Reverend
Aw.
Teresa. Good morning, Mary.
Good to see you,
Good morning,
Mary.
everybody.
Hi,
Morning,
Carol.
Teresa and Marcy. Good morning,
Clark.
Marcy.
Carol.
Good
Hi,
morning,
Teresa.
Marcy.
Hi, Ron.
Hi.
Hi,
Jane.
Marilyn.
Hi,
Good
Jane.
morning, Clark.
Good morning.
Hi,
Hi,
Emily.
Clark.
Hello, everyone.
Morning, Ron.
Hello.
Hello, Dick Bailey.
Morning, Marcy.
Morning, Hi, Heather.
Hi, John.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi,
Hey,
Hi,
morning,
Carol.
Emily.
You're outside too.
Ellen.
There you are.
Good to see you,
Look
Jack.
how beautiful you look.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, John.
Claudia.
Hi, Hillary.
Hi, Carol.
Morning, Linda.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Judith. All right, everybody.
Hi,
We're going to
everybody.
do two things right now.
There's my
We're
brother.
going to go ahead and go back on mute. And then I have a song for you. And then we'll have some time together.
We're going to sing Come Go With Me. I will give you the prompts for each verse, so please sing along if you can. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Freedom. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. Justice. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. Singing. There'll be singing in that land. Voices ringing in that land. They'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. They'll be singing in that land. Voices ringing in that land. They'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Come go with me. Come go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound.
Today, our wisdom is going to be about reopening. So, Stefan and Alex and I are going to talk to you about some different aspects.
So, friends, we have been conducting our business of the church over the internet for the past year. This has allowed us to gather safely, as well as permitting people from all over the world to worship with us. This has been an opportunity for us to live our life-saving faith as Unitarian Universalists. And we know that this is not a permanent fix. The sparkle wore off pretty quickly. And I know that many of us are eager to worship together in person, but as your staff, we continue to make hard decisions. And as we work with safety in mind, we consider physical, emotional, and spiritual safety, and sometimes those feel mutually exclusive. So here are some of the things that we know and some things we don't know, and how it shapes our conversations about reopening. One, gathering together indoors with multiple households is still a very risky behavior. The CDC classifies worshiping indoors to be one of the riskiest behaviors, comparable to flying to Vegas and staying in a casino for a weekend. We have not reached peak immunity yet as a community, and we aren't sure when that will happen, especially with new strains popping up. Next, even at its most effective, the vaccine still has a 5% failure rate, especially among the elderly and immunocompromised. And so when we extrapolate that into a full worship service, we know that many of us are still at risk, even with vaccines. Children under 16 still do not have access to a vaccine, and that timeline of when they will get one is still very unclear. While some churches are reopening with outdoor services, we do not have the capacity to do so. We would need to utilize some sort of off-campus outdoor space like a public park. Finally, the religious education team is working on how to allow for children and families to gather that is safe and responsible to our entire community. This may include a children's chapel before service with families worshiping together during the 10:30 service, or having older kids meeting together in a park or coffee shop. We know we can never fully eliminate risk, but we can do our best to do risk analysis and figure out which risky behaviors are necessary and which can be avoided. I thank you all for your good work on keeping each other safe. And now Stefan will talk a little bit about the changes made to our building and our infrastructure to promote safety.
Well, good morning, everyone. Just a couple notes before that.
Gavin Newsom has come out and said that they're going to reopen the state June 15th. And we do not have any information on any restrictions or procedures or anything. So the June 15th date you may hear a lot about, but we are going to wait until we find out what we need to do to reopen. When we do reopen, we'll reopen in phases, worship first, and then coffee hour, small meetings, that sort of thing. But we do need to be patient because it's going to be a minute. What we've done is the church has authorized money to buy equipment for the church. We have purchased some HEPA filter air scrubbers, commercial grade. So we have those that we can use in a variety of rooms in the church. We have also purchased measuring equipment to measure the CO2 in each room, and that is a big factor on the air movement. We do have some low energy fans that will move the air around. I have been doing beta testing in the sanctuary by opening all of the doors, turning on the air filters, and using the measuring equipment. And at this point, it looks good. We do have all the signage that we'll need if we need to have different directions in hallways. One thing we do know is we will have masks, and so we've done a lot of work, the reopening team, on making sure that when we do return, whenever that is, that the building will be safe. We will have the equipment that will keep us safe while we're here. So I will pass it on to Reverend Soto.
You've heard that. That's some of the strong, good thought that has gone into the moving pieces before us. I want to assure you that the two things that are always being considered are when we can gather and what will be safe. And one has to inform the other, right? So as we talk about this, we still are talking about what does it mean to lean into our mission when this is on our plate? And that's the question that I would ask you to carry with you along with those pieces of information, right? So these are some of the things we really wanted you to know, and we will continue to update you when the information becomes available. If you have questions, please feel free to email me. That's revsoto@uuoakland.org, and I'll get your question to the right place. It might be me, it might be someone else. Thank you both. Stefan?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that we do not know what the June 15th opening is going to look like. So until we have some direction, we're just asking everyone to be as patient as you can. And we have very competent and conscientious folks working on this. There's a team that is thinking, looking, studying, and everything to make sure that we return safely. But I just want to make sure that, everybody goes, June 15th, we got to open now. No, we don't. We have to open when we feel it is safe for our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Now I'd like to invite Corliss with a reflection.
Well, first of all, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Mother's Day. I miss my own mother, and I miss motherliness and all sorts of things. If you actually are a mother, or doesn't matter, your motherliness is what we like and what we love. Please keep it coming. So today, Alex is going to talk about religious education. I've got to admit that I don't have very good associations with that term, religious education. It sort of reminds me of The Handmaid's Tale. Our monthly topic is stories. So I thought I'd begin my reflection with a story about my own religious education. When I was a preteen, my parents would drop me off at the Episcopal Church. They'd drive me there and they'd drop me off. They were nominal Christians, my parents, but my father was just too asocial to participate in church-like activities. My mother would have loved to do it, making Jell-O salads and arranging flowers on the altar and stuff like that. But she felt she just couldn't do that without my father. It would have been just too weird for her to do it alone. My own husband grew up as a Catholic and is now totally allergic to any kind of church. But luckily, times have changed and we feel fine doing things on our own. And this is a practice that always mystified my parents tremendously. I said that they dropped me off at the Episcopal Church, which has a reputation as a waspy upper class denomination. However, my going there had quite a different origin. My mother began life as a Methodist, and her father was the janitor at the Methodist church where my mom and her 8 siblings attended. She felt shamed there and didn't like how she was treated. So by the time my father came back from the war, my mom was going to the Episcopal Church. I remember mildly enjoying the pageantry of church, the different colored robes the priests wore for different seasons, the shiny communion chalices and the stained glass windows. I said all the things I was instructed to say, though I really didn't have much idea what they meant, and I didn't care. I'm somewhat horrified today to think of actually saying the Nicene Creed. The Trinity? Huh? One day my Sunday school class was sitting together in the main church, and you may know that there are kneelers in Episcopalian churches. From time to time in the service, we kneel to pray. On this day, I wasn't feeling very well, a little bit sick. So when we knelt, I leaned my rear end back against the seat of the pew. Then I felt a small, sharp blow. My Sunday school teacher, a man, had thwacked me on the butt with a rolled up program. He was reproaching me for leaning against the pew. I didn't know what the Trinity was, but I knew what unkindness was. I knew it didn't feel to me like what Christianity was supposed to be. What about Jesus wanting us to love one another and to employ mercy? So that ended any attraction I felt to church. Today, rituals having to do with the earth seem most meaningful to me, which is one reason why I'm a member of Circle of Oak, which, by the way, is meeting today. I imagine there are many Episcopalians who would lament that Sunday school teacher's action. And my reaction wasn't really a comment on Episcopalians. It was much more a comment on adults, a sort of Holden Caulfield moment. As I said, I'm not fond of the term religious education. It sounds too much like indoctrination. But then I think teaching people about the 7, soon to be 8 principles of Unitarian Universalism is a very good thing. After all, one of them urges a free search for truth and conscience, which would guard against indoctrination or anyone telling us they have all the answers. Nonetheless, because we are human, there are approved views, and disagreeing or even questioning them brings opprobrium and implicit condemnation. We continue to try to be present to each other. My husband and I have been watching a television series called Shtisel about a community of ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel. This is a highly ritualistic society whose mores are very conservative, so conservative that the men wear the garb of 16th century Poland, and one schoolmaster is dismissed for teaching, quote, secular subjects like math and geography. However, we're also constantly seeing that whenever characters eat or drink something, they thank God, the source of all creation. Whenever they enter or leave a room, they kiss the mezuzah fixed to the door frame, which contains verses from the Torah, including the instruction to love the eternal God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. This constant evocation of what for them is the source of everything is really quite moving and stands in stark contrast to the more common practices of secular society. However, it doesn't seem to make the people any less venal or rapacious or kinder or more open-hearted. But then that's not the point. The point is to be obedient to the rules so that everyone gets along. I joined First Unitarian Church of Oakland because I wanted a community with whom to work in concert for each other and for justice without dogma or fixed ideas of God. And it's been the example of various people within the congregation that has most contributed to my spiritual education. Acts of kindness, open-heartedness, and efforts to achieve justice. And nobody's smacking me on the butt for poor posture.
Friends, I invite you to join us together in a spirit of prayer and meditation. I invite you to relax your gaze and to take a deep breath. Spirit of love, life, and justice, you who go by many names, you are the one that connects us together today in community. We give thanks for this day, this time of transition between springtime and summer, the impending time of multitude and plenty. May we share in generosity with those who do not have. As we breathe, we bring our hearts and minds toward the people of India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal as they struggle with a new outbreak of COVID-19. May the doctors and nurses and staff and caretakers be courageous. May all be able to breathe easily. May their grief be worthy. We recognize the beauty and complication of Mother's Day, that society has put a burden on femininity and motherhood that it cannot pay for right now, as moms everywhere are struggling with the implications of lockdown. As we struggle with what it means to be a nurturer, to care, and that we know that there's more than one way to be a mom, a mama, a madre, a nana, an auntie. We pray for our decision makers, our politicians, that they work with justice, equity, compassion, and peace. We turn our hearts to the border and to prisons, that families everywhere will be reunited and free. Let us share a moment of stillness. For the people, places, and events that weave us together in a tapestry of love we call community, we say thank you. And for these prayers spoken and those that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, we say amen. Blessed be. And Ashe. Well, as Corliss mentioned, I'm talking about religious education today as your interim director of religious education. And it is also story time month, so I have some stories about my own religious education. First, quite possibly the first lesson of religious education I ever received was in my small UU congregation in Orange County. But first, I want to mention that next month, June, marks the 40th anniversary of the first cases of HIV and AIDS in the United States. 10 years later, by 1991, I was a young child in the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church in Costa Mesa, California. And every Sunday we would light a chalice, just like we do here. And then we would light a second chalice, a second candle for the victims and survivors of HIV and AIDS. By 1991, over 600,000 people had succumbed to the virus, many of them gay men in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York. Perhaps we have stories of that time, stories of caring, of loss and survival. And now HIV is no longer the death sentence it used to be. I hope that we can share some of those stories with one another about plague times before this plague time. I didn't think much about lighting that candle. It just was the thing that we did as Unitarian Universalists. We would light a candle to remember those who were struggling, those who were on the margin, those who had been forgotten by an indifferent government. It wasn't until I was older that I realized how radical that act was. But not only that, on Saturdays, our church would gather in our kitchen and we would make healthy meals that we would then package up and freeze and deliver to the local AIDS hospice, to people who were living their final months due to HIV and AIDS. The act of lighting the candle in worship was a theological statement that grounded our work for justice, to look to the margins, and to take note and leadership from those most affected. And for that, I am grateful for my first religious education lesson as a Unitarian Universalist. Last week, a really good friend came to visit, Milo. Milo is one of the godparents of my son, Elliot. Elliot is 4 and had not seen Milo in almost a year and a half. And we were all so excited to see them. Elliot wanted to do something nice for Milo, so he recommended that we bake a pie. He wanted to bake a strawberry rhubarb pie for Milo. So we sat down, figured out all the ingredients we needed. We went to the store, thanked the clerks for their good work, came home and laid out all of our ingredients, and we talked about where the ingredients came from, where the strawberries came from, and as we nibbled on strawberries while I cut them, we gave thanks for the sun and the earth and the water and the farmers who all made these strawberries possible. And we tasted the sour bitterness of the rhubarb and laughed about the silly ways that he could make the rhubarb into antenna and pretend that he was an alien or a bug. And we gave thanks for the cows that provided milk and cream that made the butter to go into the dough. And we listened to David Bowie and Prince, and we laughed, and we gave thanks for the opportunity to make pie for Milo. And the next day we sat outside and we ate pie and we told jokes and stories and gave thanks for community and for farmers and cows and grocery store clerks and the sun and the water and the earth. Simple acts of gratitude. This time last year, I twisted my ankle. Now, I like to run. I don't run competitively. The one 5K that I did, I came in dead last, but I felt very proud that I completed it nonetheless. I don't run for my health or to lose weight. I just do it because I appreciate the way that my body moves. And the little boost of endorphins helps a lot. But as I was running for the bus to go to work, I stepped in a pothole and I twisted my ankle really, really badly. I'm pretty sure I said some words that I shouldn't repeat in church. And I got to work and I iced my ankle and I limped along. And it has been almost an entire year and my ankle still hurts. I've gone to the doctor, I've done rehab, I've done all sorts of things, and my ankle still hurts. But I'm starting to train again. I'm learning how to work with the trauma that I suffered a year ago. I'm going slowly. I don't know if I'm going to run a 5K this year or next year or maybe even ever again, but I am moving slowly. And that is okay. Activist and writer Adrienne Marie Brown, who wrote Emergent Strategies, talks about moving at the speed of community. Moving at the speed of community. I used to work with adults with developmental disabilities. And when we would move into a space that was new or challenging, we had a rule that whoever moved slowest went first. They set the pace. Those of us who needed a little less support would cheer from the back, encouraging, not telling them to rush, just encouraging them that they were doing a good job. The people with the most support go first, and the rest of us get to cheer from behind. That's moving at the speed of community. The other day, Elliot and I went to go work in the garden. We were planting herb seeds, basil among the tomatoes, coriander with the peppers, dill with the cucumbers. And as we poked our fingers in the soil, I would pull out the seeds. And Elliot would look at them with wonder and awe and say, "Dada, those seeds make these big plants?" And I said, "Yeah, those seeds have all the information to make the big plants, to make the flowers and the fruit and the seeds so they can grow again, all within these tiny seeds." And he just started laughing. And I started laughing too. What an amazing thing that we can see small things grow into big things. What a miracle that small things can grow into big things. These are some of the religious education lessons that I hold with me. That in times of crisis, we can light a candle to bless the world. Let that candle be the beacon for the work that we are doing. That there is always time to slow down and be grateful. to be grateful for one another and for the times of plenty. That when we face trauma, it's okay to go slow. It's okay to be careful. It's okay to tend to one another. That when we move with the speed of community, we are considering what our needs are and how to meet them. And finally, big things can come from tiny things. That sometimes we have to plant the seeds in order to harvest a big harvest. So friends, after service, I will be leading a workshop on the future of religious education here at UU Oakland. We will be doing art projects and we will be dreaming big. So if you are to join us, I will take a 5-minute break after the service and encourage you to take care of any physical needs you may have. But also I'm asking you to bring paper, pens, markers, crayons, anything you can do to be creative with. And I'm also asking you to bring a sacred object from your house, something that you find holy, spiritual, or grounding, so that we can create a common altar together. As we talk about reopening, I hope we bring these lessons together, that we are going to continue to be grateful for one another. We are going to continue to care for one another. We are going to think small, because small is all. We're going to move at the speed of community. That is how we will reopen and how we will reopen well, faithfully and considerately. I hope you all join me for the workshop after the service. And until we meet again, I say Ashe, blessed be, and Amen. Now, friends, let us sing our next hymn. You can keep your microphone off, but sing well with our next hymn, Fire of Commitment.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance that the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Thank you. That was a lovely rendition of that song. Now is the time when we share our generosity of our community. Our mission of UU Oakland is to work for transformative justice both within and beyond our walls. And one of the ways we do that is by sharing our resources with other organizations that call for our same values. So I am proud that UU Oakland is co-hosting a worship service this week with Drum, the diverse revolutionary UU multicultural ministries. And we have a very brief video about that worship service coming up.
I'll be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into.
I'm Ayana Kafi. I'm the Drum president, and I am thrilled to invite you to the Drum fundraising worship event called Becoming Human Again and Again. This is an open invitation. Whomever you are, if you are seeing this, you are invited to come be in community with us. This is an opportunity to support Drum and Drum's vital, life-saving ministries.
And hello, I'm the Reverend Joseph Santos Lyons, and it's been my honor to serve as consulting minister with Drum. We hope to see you on Wednesday, May 19th. The service will be at 8:30 p.m. and we're honored and delighted to be joined by the Reverend Mitra Ranama as our guest preacher, and our musical artists are Joshua Long and Nicole Rameau. And if you are able to attend a little early, we'll be opening our Zoom room at 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can have a chance to mingle with other folks from your regions. As Ayana said, this is open to all. This is an opportunity to experience a larger community together, led by Drum, led by BIPOC folks in our community, Drum members. And we hope that you'll spread the word and let folks know in your congregations and beyond. If you would like to be a co-sponsor, we are really excited to recognize congregations and UU organizations that are supporting Drum. We would invite you to reach out to us, and you can reach us via email at info@drum.org. And if you would like to be in the congregation, you can RSVP online at bit.ly/May19Drum, or you can live stream the service on Facebook. Sending love out your way from all of us.
We can't wait to see you.
Renee and Susan are such a gift. And Alex, I sure wish that I had had your religious education instead of the one that I didn't get. That was really, really a good one to have. You know, when we come back to church, we're going to see how Stefan has spent a year fixing, improving, varnishing, polishing, just making it as wonderful as it could possibly be. And that this has been possible, and that we have been able to have Pastor Teresa and Pastor Alex do these services is only possible because we all contribute. People have contributed. So I'd like to invite you to continue to do that in hope that pretty soon we'll be able to be together. Here's the, in the chat is the way to give. And I think on the screen, there's also a direction for how to give. It's easy. So go ahead, do it. It doesn't matter if it's small, it's just it's the contribution that matters. So could we say our congregational commitment? To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love we call community, we dedicate ourselves and these our offerings. And now we're going to have Lean on Me.
Sometimes in our life, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me if you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long. I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road, I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. You just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If you need a friend, call me, call me, call me,
That was lovely. So as a reminder, there's a workshop on the future of religious education starting in 5 minutes after this. Grab some pens and paper and some sacred object for our workshop. I also would like to once again invite you to the service Wednesday night, and look to our newsletter for many, many wonderful opportunities coming up. There will be a link for coffee hour if you choose that. This is a newcomer Sunday, so if you are new to our community, there will be a breakout room to learn more about UU Oakland. So friends, I invite you to reach out either physically or with your heart and spirit to one another. The lessons we learn are every day. We extinguish this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, but not the light of beauty, the truth of justice, or the fire of commitment. So go out into the world and make small movements that turn into big things. Go out into the world and be a sign of love and safety for one another. Friends, our worship has ended, but our service has just begun. Go now in peace.